Hello. Hold on one sec. Get this all set up. Get the chat in view. What's up, everybody? Coming over from the other video. You guys see me? Let's see. What are we on? Nope, that's the wrong chat. This is the right chat. All right. How's everybody doing? Long time no see. Can you all hear me okay? I think I got the mic working. Let me know if you can hear me. Somebody. Hey, hey. Oh, hi, Sonam. Fancy seeing you here. Thanks, Wiki. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, hopefully you guys liked the like spinning plates video. A lot of fun on that one. Yeah, I did have to learn how to sing that backwards, and it was definitely very difficult. So I found a couple websites that can do, like, what's the technical term is called phonetic reversal. You're not, are you in the right Zoom class? That's good. And so I put the lyrics in there and I tried to figure out, and I also, used a few, like we always use reference versions. I was using the I Might Be Wrong live recordings version as a reference, and I was using, the studio version, and I kind of would take that segment, flip it around, and try to listen, to what he was singing. I actually practice singing it forward myself sometimes, and flipping it back and trying to get the syllables. Maybe I'll post the lyrics. I'll post a picture on the thread at some point, just of what the words look like when you're trying to sing that backwards. I don't remember them offhand now, but for a while it was that nonsense words were stuck more in my head than the actual lyrics. But it was fun, and then obviously shooting the video, and I tried to put as many of the common reversed video trope things. I had the clock going. If you guys didn't catch, I had the clock in reverse and the hourglass and ripping the paper. That's always fun to look at. So it was pretty trippy editing that. Oh, hey, Jim. I guess it's sort of an AMA. Yeah, we could talk about anything about that video, any other questions, from past Q&As or present. I want to definitely talk a lot about this guy, Kid Amnesia. Now it's been in our lives for about a week. And, definitely have some thoughts on the bonus tracks overall. I think it's really cool. Obviously, I'm super biased. At this point, it's like hard to provide a truly objective opinion about anything Radiohead, but I do have some thoughts for sure. So I'd love to hear what you guys think too, talking about it. So hello from the Ukraine. All right. Johnny's solo work. Like his scores and his compositions for film, because I love all of the work that he's done. All the way back to like Body Song, I think is a really cool soundtrack. With all the kind of music concrete and avant-garde stuff that he's doing there, and then of course like Phantom Thread is just beautiful, piano and instrumentation there. Oh no, you're still waiting for yours, Jim. Yeah. The paperback, so that's actually, I also have that here too. I got that recently. I got that in the last couple days, maybe a couple days ago. It's really cool. So to think about this is like, in the OK Computer, they had the journals. They had the two, like the two books, the big book and the little book. The little book was the Tom's Diary one, and it, I think the benefit of this is a little bit more curated and a little bit more organized. Everything in here is more of a formal poem or a lyric. So they actually have, for the whole album, they have like the official lyrics for all the Kid A and Amnesiac songs in here too, which is good for those of you who haven't spent the time. For all the ones that I've covered, I've already kind of been looking around and trying to triangulate the best source, but this will help resolve some debates around things like Idiotac or Morning Bell or things like that. So, yeah, but it's really cool because there's also, obviously, there's little bits of art kind of sprinkled into, just a little, well, I'm turning it the wrong way to the camera. Little bits of Stanley's drawings, and there's other like poetry and short stories. There's a few in here that they definitely remind me of Stanley's voice, his kind of, his sarcasm and his comedy, like the Big Bird story from the OK Computer cassette. There's a few in there like this that are just sort of like, dark, macabre sort of stories and poems and things like that, which is cool. So let me keep an eye on the chat because I haven't been doing it. So let's see. Yeah. I think the Spinning Plates version might be the best surprise from it. Some people say it feels incomplete. Do you think it's unfinished? So that's the Why Us version of Like Spinning Plates, which is the first track of the bonus material on the disc 3. So when I heard it, I was like, oh, I was definitely surprised, and I thought it was really cool. I'm glad it was, the piano version, which, as you saw, like that's the version we chose to cover, was the original live version with the piano arpeggios. So the lyrics were cool. It was cool to hear that additional verse, and the melody was interesting. I think I still prefer the studio and ultimate live version melody to the YS melody, just because I felt like he was fleshing it out. In the YS, it felt like it was more of a work in progress, and then he kind of ultimately landed on. Maybe it's just because I've heard the other one so many times that's what I prefer, just subconsciously. But I thought it was a cool version, and I guess I'd agree that maybe it feels a little incomplete, like hence why it's it's on the bonus disc and we're only hearing it now. But I'm glad we're hearing it now. I think like with everything on that disc, even if it isn't as finalized as say the I Promise and Man of War and things that came back around for the OK Computer release, even though those things are a little bit more raw, I still think they're really interesting to listen to. And they give an interesting perspective and they add a different context. People were saying that the third disc, because it's organized so well with the crossfades and the sequencing, that it almost feels like a companion piece or companion album or something that kind of bridges the gap between Kid A and Amnesiac in a way that I think is really interesting. So yeah, I liked it. More LCD Sound System songs. I would love to do more. I really do love LCD Sound System. And yeah, Taka and I had a lot of fun working on the Someone Great cover. You should check that out if you guys haven't seen it. So Lucian Prime is asking about Follow Me Around. People, he loves it, but at the same time feels incomplete. I get that. I think I was also probably one of the ones hoping to see like what would happen if it was a full band version as opposed to the mostly acoustic that we've heard. We heard the work in progress kind of band version from the Meeting People Is Easy take. I really liked it. I thought the panning choice was a little weird. So as you guys know, they panned the vocal to one side and the acoustic guitar very hard to another. Nigel does love to do hard panning in certain contexts, but for this one, I would have loved if it was a little bit, just down the middle and center. But the vocoder was a really cool touch. That was the Kid A part of it. Otherwise, it felt more like a Nirvana song or like a earlier Radiohead era song, which I'm sure it had been working on for a while. So that makes sense. But in terms of incomplete, like I don't know, like I think it works so well, even just as an acoustic ballad. Like just hearing Tom sing that, the flair to his voice and those melodies, like I felt like were really cool. And again, something you don't hear as much, that straight ahead, really catchy, hooky kind of thing. You don't hear as much in the newer music, but, in different ways and, different things, but both equally good. So yeah, will we do the Kid Amnesia bonus tracks in terms of covers? Taka and I have like talked about it. Obviously, we'd love to. We're still trying to work through the rest of the main Amnesiac studio tracks, and we've got a couple others. Obviously, people have been paying attention know some of the hardest and least live played ones we have left to do, but we welcome the challenge, so we're gonna keep working through that. Might take a little longer. Just because I think Taka's working through some technical difficulties. I think he had a little computer trouble, and hopefully everything is backed up and all right. But we'll get the production wheels turning again soon on that. So yeah, Phil's work, Phil Selway's solo work, I've listened to is Weatherhouse, and what is the first? Weatherhouse was the second album, right? And then I forget what the name of his first. Familial. That's right. And do I have those mixed up? No, I think that's the first and second. So I've listened to. I haven't listened to them a lot. It didn't like strike me right away. I thought it was very good. I think for I don't want it to sound derogatory, but for a drummer, Phil's got he's got a good voice and sense of melody, and he's a good songwriter. I think for sure. I thought it was interesting in the same way that Ed's solo work was very interesting and different, than what Radiohead normally does. I thought it was different. It didn't grab me right away, but I'd love to kind of, come back and give it some more fresh listens and maybe see what to cover. I do remember the Coming Up for Air being a pretty standout track, so that might be a fun one to cover. Yeah, so I should definitely mention in terms of like spinning plates, not the first time that I came at this song. I did work on a sort of a mashup based on this whole, the inverse relationship that it has with I Will. Me and Lucas Valim from Brazil, who's another friend of mine and close collaborator. We did a version which you should check out. I believe it's on my channel, where that was sort of like the more, we took some liberties with it, but we kind of mashed up I Will and like spinning plates, kind of both parts together, and used some of that same kind of reversing techniques and things like that. And that was a lot of fun. Um, so how often did I see Radiohead live? I've seen them, I think, 8 times at this point, which is, I know, absurd. And I consider myself lucky because I know a lot of folks haven't had the chance, and I really hope that everybody who wants to see them, who hasn't, gets a chance to sometime in their life, because they are fantastic live. They're definitely the best. I mean, and again, super biased hat wearing right now, but they're the best act I've seen live, just in terms of the sheer musicianship and how well they execute such complicated. Knowing myself now, what from covering these songs and playing these songs, what it takes um, to do this, to do that live in front of thousands of people, night after night, and be so on point, is really incredible. And it's a really special atmosphere. I love that the crowd is so into it, and it's a really, Ed always talks about that connection between them and the crowd, and everybody has a good time, and it's a very respectful crowd. And none of the, you guys have seen the crazy stuff in the news lately with what happens at festivals and concerts, and that's a real fear of mine, because I'm not a total agoraphobic or anything like that, but I don't love. I've been to a few festival type things, and I don't really love the, packed like sardines type vibe that you get sometimes. So I feel like the spirit of everybody just being there for the music and the experience is really what shines through at Radiohead, and it's really transcendent, for sure. I'm probably way behind, so yes, I've seen them a lot of times. Oh crap! All right, I got to scroll up and then back down. Okay, the Kid Amnesia game coming out soon. I definitely want to play. Yeah, a reaction video, like a let's play. I'm not like a game streamer. I obviously play games. I actually have my Switch here, but I'm not hardcore or serious or anything. But I am definitely going to play it when it comes out. Probably on Mac, because I don't have access to a PS5. I don't think many people do at this point. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I will try to do something like that, depending on, I don't know what the copyright situation. I guess for game streaming, it depends. I guess there's probably some loopholes in that. How close is a normal Telecaster to Johnny's? So if by normal you mean like the pretty much what you get these days, that's inspired by the classic Telecaster design, which is kind of the two single coil pickups type vibe that was the Telecaster from the 50s. It's not really much like that per se, because the lace sensor pickups are really unique to his model, which was the Telecaster Plus from the 90s. I have a video about this you should check out when I modded mine to put those pickups in there. The neck pickup is a single coil, but it's voiced to sound like a humbucker, a little bit more like a humbucker, so it's a little bit deeper and fuller sounding. And the bridge is like a super hot, like high output humbucker type sound, so it's not very twangy or bright. There's ability to kind of get there with like the tone control, which is the TBX, which kind of can roll off bass or treble. So you can make the bridge pick up a little bit brighter, but kind of part of Johnny's sound is that very mid-range, like low mid-range, kind of barky, woofy bridge pickup sound, which is not very typical Telecaster at all. But it works really well with a high gain distortion like the Shredmaster, because it just makes everything like really smooth and compressed and full force. So it's unique. It does a lot of things well. It doesn't necessarily do the traditional Telecaster thing as well, but it's still a great guitar, for sure. So people say Kid Amnesia was more, I don't know if I'm pronouncing Kid Amnesia, and is that Amnesia? I don't know how to pronounce it. Was more Kid A based than it was Amnesiac based. I miss songs like Cut Tooth. Yeah, I think I was definitely disappointed that the B-sides didn't make like most of the releases, the vinyl releases, besides the cassette or whatever, because those B-sides are great. The original Fog, Cut Tooth, Amazing Sounds of Orgy. There's some cool songs in there. But I can see from like a vinyl perspective that they're already making a whole nother third disc for these rarities. Then to make a 4 LP, the cost and the production and things like that probably wouldn't have been as much parity between the formats. So I can kind of see that, but at the same time, I wish they had maybe included like a download for additional things. But you can get them. Obviously, I own them digitally from like iTunes from whenever I got them. So they're not, it's not like I Promise or something that didn't exist in release format before. So yeah. Favorite song on live of the Kid A Amnesiac era. I mean, National Anthem slaps pretty hard live. I really liked I Might Be Wrong. I loved covering that. That's like that was like one of my bucket list live songs. I believe they played it at one of the shows on the Moonshaped Pool tour that I saw, but I have to go back and check my setlist.fm. I feel like that one's super fun. The Why Us is that is pretty cool. And then the How to Disappear into Strings, I thought that was beautiful. Obviously, like when they did the isolated strings to Climbing Up the Walls on the OK Computer cassette, I was like, that's awesome, because I could hear that, the dissonance and the, when he has Johnny is having like the strings play. I think that's, like in whole tones or semitones away from each other, so it just like blankets and makes this weird sound. He does that in like There Will Be Blood soundtrack, things like that too. That kind of nasty dissonant sound that he's doing. He does dissonance, the interval, I forget, at the beginning of How to Disappear Completely, there's that one note that's like not right, it's not in a key, and that makes that haunting kind of sound. Which I actually realized, or I learned, was influenced a lot by Scott Walker, who, was a big influence on the band. And he had, I think it's called It's Raining Today, which is a cool, like, song. He has this kind of crooner voice, but it's got this, like, orchestral backing that has some funk to it, which is pretty cool. All right, yeah. So many good questions and thoughts. I'm gonna try and get through as many of these, and then I'll just keep riffing. So let's see. Thank you, Daniel. Will we do some Smith covers? I'll do some. Yeah. So I did How Soon Is Now, which is obviously a big one, but I'd love to come back and do some more. Really big fan of Johnny Marr. Know that he's close and influential with Ed and the rest of the band. He was a big influence on them. I've seen him live a few times, and he really does a great job. Untitled V3 is cool. That's basically the closest one to the end of motion picture soundtrack type Untitled, right? Because it's got the harp in there, and the crazy, which I believe is, you can hear in those Untitled's, there's more of that Owen Martineau vocoder voice thing, right? Like that they used on Kid A. You can hear that it's Tom singing, but the pitch is being controlled by that spooky wave from the Owen Martineau. Okay, so Space Dude Boy says that Polk Pull True Love Waits was probably my favorite out of the new tracks. I really like that too. I was surprised at how much I liked that. When I saw it, I was like, I guess I can see what they're going to do here. And when it started, and then they actually started doing the True Love Waits progression with the space echo loop and the piano loop that still exists in Polk Pull, I was like, this sounds really cool. I mean, there's that dissonant like pad in the background that doesn't necessarily fit as well, but overall, I was really impressed by the Polk Pull True Love Waits, and I found myself liking it. Strangely, like maybe even more than the Moonshaped Pool Ultimate version, or like the acoustic version, which I loved for until I heard the Moonshaped Pool one. So yeah, I really like that one too. That was a standout for me. Monkey Rat Singh says OG Fog was still my favorite version. Me too. I think I still like the studio Fog. I liked the live one, the just piano one he did on the Comlag EP, and I liked the Again. I thought it was like really beautiful sounding, but without a bass line. That one felt unfinished to me. It just felt like a little sketch, and it didn't have to feel like it was. Again, I was just like, oh, this is a nice little curio, but I still like the OG Fog as well myself. I do love the Smiles music. I am excited for when that release comes out. Obviously, I spent the weeks following that Glastonbury performance just wearing out my recordings of it and just watching it and listening to it over and over. And obviously Taka and I did a cover of Skating on the Surface. We'd love to do more from that session too. I know Taka, you should check out on his channel. He did like minutes after it released, he had like perfect guitar covers of at least 4 of the songs, so he puts me to shame. The Follow Me Around version, fine by itself, didn't flow well listening to the whole album. It's in a weird spot. It's like dead center on the album, and it's the most conventional and different than everything else. Everything else is more experimental and electronic, and here is this I Promise like 90s anthem type. I wouldn't say anthem, I mean it's still a pretty sarcastic song, but it's yeah, its placement was a little strange, but I still enjoyed listening to it. Um, a Moonshaped Pool video like Kid A live from the basement with Taka. I'd love to stitch that stuff together. I've done a few of the songs myself. Taka's done a few of them. There's a few we haven't done together, but if we could bring together what we've done in a format like that, that would be fun. We're actually working on Amnesiac though right now. We're trying to finish that out. We'd love to put that out as a whole video, probably on Taka's channel. So because we had a lot of fun with the Kid A one, and yeah, it is fun to do that. We make all these covers over different periods of time, like different years and hairstyles and points of our life, but it's fun when we get to bring it all together into sort of a album like format. So yeah, let's see. Pull off Polk live. Yeah, exactly. That's the challenge, right? Still thinking about how we're gonna do that. Yeah. The 2017 Follow Me Around, I don't know which one that is. Is that the one he did live? Yeah. Oh no. That's the one that he did with Johnny at the solo show, the electronic-y one. That one's cool too. I do really dig that one. I see it as the same way that like Skating on the Surface Smile and Skating on the Surface Radiohead. You know what I mean? It's just like I feel like they're different songs almost. Like I love the acoustic one that just came out, but I like that electronic one too. Let's see. All right, so I'm definitely gonna miss some, and I apologize. I'm just trying to scroll through and catch up here. You guys are great. Let's see here. Bracing to be booted off for radio. Oh no, Jim, this is a great question. Did you score tickets to Krungbin? Yes. So I'm gonna go see Krungbin at Radio City. I forget which date, but it's gonna be March of next year. I'm very excited about that. Krungbin is one of my favorite non-Radiohead bands. They're excellent musicians. I just love the vibe of what they do. It's like listenable at almost any time. It's great like relaxing music, or just kind of groovy mood music. And I love music like that. Different genres like trip hop or jazz, things like that. So very excited to go see Krungbin. World Cafe Live. Oh, just hit my phone. The World Cafe Live gig. Yes, I should take a point to talk about an important point about the There There show. So you guys remember, I am playing with the Radiohead tribute act from New York City, There There. We're playing a few shows at the beginning of next year, which I believe tickets are still available to all three, but I might be wrong. So you should check out on There There's website, which is therethnyc.com. We have links in our tour section, which will show, they'll take you to the Ticketmaster pages. I think they're all on Ticketmaster for the three shows. One of those is the rescheduled Bowery Ballroom that was supposed to happen in August, unfortunately, but we're opening up for a Smiths cover band, the Sons and Heirs, and that's on January 8th in New York. We've got January 15th in Somerville, Massachusetts, near Boston, which is pretty cool. So for the folks that saw our videos last week of Burn Holiday performing at the Lily Pad in Inman Square, we'll be back at that area, but with There, not with Burn Holiday, at Somerville Theater. That one's January 15th. And then, yes, Jim, the February 5th World Cafe Live gig, I believe tickets are still available to that. You can check those out. That's in Philadelphia, PA. I would love to see any and all of you guys, for all those for whom it makes sense in those respective areas, at any of those shows. I'm very excited. The There guys are awesome. They're a lot of fun. They're Radiohead geeks like me. We have a lot of fun rehearsing, getting ready for these shows. So I'm excited. And as you've seen in my other videos, I'm playing around with pedals and arrangements and things like that, getting souped for those shows. So yes. So which out of the 8 was my favorite Radiohead gig? I think it's probably, the most important one was probably the first, which was the special show, the Roseland Ballroom show in 2011. Yeah, 2011, fall of 2011, because that was the beginning. That was like the blossoming of my whole fandom and really getting deep and realizing how good they were live and how eclectic their catalog was and how, I could, get into all this different music from these different eras. So that's probably the most special still to me, because it was such a kind of a special event. But in the recent shows, they crushed it both times I saw them at Madison Square Garden. So I saw them in 2016 there, and then again in 2018, and both of those shows were awesome. So yeah, really enjoyed those shows. I've not met Tom in person. I would love to. I think I would have been. I'm still a little scared too. Although I hear, he's lovely lately, to meet. I think during the like meeting people was easy, ironically, period. I would not have loved to meet Tom York because he still had some things to go through and to process. But he seems like he's loving life lately, and I would love to. I wouldn't know what to say, but I would love to just thank him for his music. The same way when I did meet Ed back in February of 2020, which was a really special night. It was just amazing just to say thank you and just to like be recognized and recognize it was great. So yeah, I would love that. And or Johnny. I feel like yeah. I would love to have I would love to have a conversation with any and all of them because they're all so important to me. But yeah. So maybe we'll see if I can figure out a way in the future. It would be great if we could cover some if I could cover some Krungbin. Yeah, that's some serious guitar playing though. Like Mark Spears guitar playing, he's so facile with like how he does those quick hammer-ons and stuff. It's surf influenced and Eastern influenced and Spanish. It's like all the stuff that he does is really technical, and harder than it sounds. Or well, it sounds pretty hard too, I guess. You know what I mean? But it's deceptively tricky. So I'd love to do some of that. I didn't play Metroid Dread. My friend picked it up, and he says it's pretty cool. I was looking to pick it up because it looked awesome, and I've played like none of the Metroid games, which I know is probably heresy, but it looked super cool. I'm actually still playing. I'm playing the Skyward Sword, the Zelda remaster. I never played that when it played. I love Zelda games, but I never played that when it was out on Wii or whatever. So I'm enjoying that. I think it's pretty cool. It's different, it's sort of a different experience. Did I get Distortion on How to Disappear Completely on the vinyl version? Yeah. So on this guy, I saw that in people's comments on like Reddit threads. Like that was maybe the one hiccup there, and I did get some what I believe is probably like inner groove distortion. The technical term when there's an issue, and I don't fully understand the ramifications of it, but when you're pressing vinyl, a sensitive area is the innermost grooves. It's harder to get the best fidelity out of the innermost portions of the record, just based on something about how the alignment of the needle changes as you get closer to the center. And I think back in the day, artists used to actually, when they were making single records, they weren't thinking about making these longer records into an individual LP disc. Artists used to sequence their albums or their tracks to make sure that the most dynamic tracks weren't the last track, because that could be you'd probably put a quieter song maybe in the middle, right? Because of that issue. And it wasn't like it didn't ruin the whole experience. It was a little bit annoying, and there's some clicks and pops, and that's just like modern vinyl. I don't know. You get some great pressings and you get some bad ones, but I think that this is overall a decently good pressing. I don't think it's horrible. But I think that I was a little disappointed by that, but I think it didn't totally kill it for me. But I do agree that was the one spot. So How Did It Disappear Completely had a little bit of distortion on the vinyl, but there's always a million good ways to listen to, and just the just look at these albums. I mean, it's just so beautiful. Like and again, not just in it for trinket's sake. I do actually listen to my vinyl records, but I mean, that's awesome, isn't it? Just fits so well. I love the whole black red, kind of color scheme thing. So I gotta put this back in there. Yeah. So where do we go? Let's see. Shape Pool Tour. I might be wrong. Was proper cool. Yeah. Alt Fast Track became Paper Bag Writer. I actually never thought about the connection between Fast Track. Let's flip to the Amnesiac side, shall we? I never thought about the connection between Fast Track and Paper Bag Writer. But it's clear, and there's actually a little Paper Bag Writer quote in this book, so it's clear they were thinking about it at that time too. So that makes sense. That's kind of cool. Have I already covered Morning Bell? So yeah, Taka and I did the Kid A version, and we're thinking about how to approach the Amnesiac version currently. This Charming Man is great. Which version of Fog do you prefer after hearing all three? I still prefer the original studio B-side version with the drums and the tambourine and all the crazy stuff that comes in and builds. And the time signature, again, they always do that thing where you never know where the one is until like the drums come in. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm catching up, and you guys are talking to each other too, which is great. higher sense of dissonance on the new mixes. Interesting. Um, do you know I literally cover Radiohead with a dude named Taka in New York? Oh, no, really? That's ironic. I want how that Taka. Yeah, I don't know that Taka, but I know my Taka. We should all uh, meet up sometime. That is very coincidental. What did I think of Polk Pull True Love Waits? Talked about this a little bit before, but yeah, I loved it. I actually was very pleasantly surprised. Not that I was expecting it to be bad, but I was just like, is this gonna work? And it worked weirdly well for me. Um, Bloom, yeah, Bloom was fun to cover. Do I think Cut Tooth would have fit well on Amnesiac? I feel like, I mean, with a band like Radiohead, where their B-sides are generally so strong because they are their own worst critics, and like they won't release certain things, you're like, oh, but that was really good. Like, I'm sure we could have found a spot for it, but I also wouldn't necessarily nix. I have such a hard time making decisions in general, but also like if I had to choose to cut a track that was on Amnesiac to put it there or to fit it in, I probably would have a hard time getting rid of one. Like I even love like like people sometimes hate on like Hunting Bears or like the interlude type tracks. I'm like, but that's such a cool little like spaghetti western riff. Like I love it. Actually, I think it's a Brian Eno like send up. I think it's a cover of one of his tracks, which is pretty cool. But Cut Tooth is cool. Cut Tooth has that. I mean, it's got the Mixomatosis lyrics, and it's got the upbeat kick kind of thing, like the Body Snatchers or whatever. Like the faster drumming type thing, which is nice. That kind of krautrock influence. What other bands releases coming up are you looking forward to? Enjoying the post-punk revivals in the UK scene at the moment. So I don't, yeah, the problem is sometimes I suffer from a little bit of myopia because I spend so much time thinking about dissecting and playing Radiohead's music that I forget to think about all the cool stuff that is certainly going on. So I always love when you guys recommend me bands or things in here that I can go take a listen and hopefully find something that's interesting or new or different. Because besides that, I have a stable of other bands that I really like and I listen to often, and I've covered some of them on the channel. So Interpol, My Morning Jacket. I was very into the Churches album. So I actually really like the band Churches too from Scotland. A totally different thing, more of like a synth pop thing, and just like a different sound and aesthetic. But I really like what they do too because I really love electronic influenced sounds. So their new album was pretty cool. I've been listening to the new My Morning Jacket record, which I didn't like as much as some of their other records, but I still think it has some cool moments on it. And then obviously, like we talked before about Krungbin or bands like that, different bands that I've been into. But like UK post-punk, that sounds good to me because post-punk stuff, like things that influenced bands that I like Interpol and things like that, going back to Joy Division, New Order. I like that sound as well. So I'd be curious for some of your recommendations there. Uncle and DJ Shadow. Yeah, so DJ Shadow, definitely. Uncle, I know the Rabbit in Your Headlights song, but not as much of their other stuff, but I know that they're also kind of fit into that scene. So yeah, I'd have to listen to a little bit more of them. Hey Pterodex, thanks for joining. If you haven't seen, he and I did a cover of Reverse Running as part of the Radiohead tribute album every year. We organize sort of a big, everybody kind of submits their covers. So I've got a cover with him coming out. I think there's going to be some like listening parties for those coming up these next couple weekends. So you should check those out. We had a lot of fun working on that. How do you feel about the album Pet Sounds? I love the album Pet Sounds, almost to the extent of the joke from Portlandia where Fred Armisen is like the hermit that works in his little basement recording studio and he talks about everything that they used on Pet Sounds. That will be me in about 20 years' time. So I'm looking forward to being a total recording hipster just talking about Brian Wilson and Pet Sounds because it's a beautiful and seminal album. It's amazing, for sure. Covers of the bonus tracks. We'll get there. We're still, I never know exactly what to do. Part of me is like, I'd love we just like, we try to, can we crunch one out like right when it comes out? Obviously, that's when most people do their covers of the songs, when like something just comes out and they want to be the first one to cover Follow Me Around or something like that. And I would do something like that. But part of me thinks like, well, how am I going to, I always love when we get to think a little bit about how we're going to approach it first. Like, are we going to try to, mix and match or do something cool or different? And, we're usually in the process of a couple other covers at the time. So I don't want to distract from those just to kind of, change gears. So I'll be behind the times as usual, but hopefully covers of some of that stuff will come eventually. Do I prefer Kid A and Amnesiac as a double album or as individual albums? Um, I think probably individual albums because each of them have standalone merit in my mind. I think like each of them listened front to back and in its own little sphere is just an experience. Like with the double album, the problem is it's hard sometimes to get a double album that doesn't have like filler tracks. I've never heard a Radiohead filler track because I love everything they do, but it's hard to make that many songs and make it a coherent experience. Like even I mean, there's probably some track, but like the Red Hot Chili Peppers album Stadium Arcadium is like one of the last great modern double albums, because it's got so many songs, right? And they're all pretty great. And I'm actually going to hopefully see them next year live with John Frusciante, which is another bucket list item. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, let's see. Oh man, how I'm not that far behind anymore. I can do this. I can try to catch up with you guys. Let's see, lightning round. Okay, Kid Amnesia exhibition game. I'm definitely getting it. Release day probably on PC or Mac. I don't have a PS5, so I'm definitely gonna play it. Dry cleaning. Did somebody mention dry cleaning to me? I think they did, and I was like, oh, that's cool. It's the female singer, but she does more of like a spoken word thing. Is that dry cleaning? I think so, and I thought that was pretty cool. How do you feel about finally recorded this version of Like Spinning Plates? So yeah, I think so. The YS version, I loved the piano because I like how they play it live with the piano. It's interesting they kept the little backwards blippy percussion noises in there, and I love the lyrics. But I thought the melody was better in the final ultimate version. I thought the melody was stronger. Idols are cool, so I know about them, and it's like definitely not even in my wheelhouse of like what I normally listen to, but I feel like they've got the energy for sure. Matt Helder's okay, I really like Arctic Monkeys. I loved the Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. It was like a weird Bowie lounge, record that was cool, and concept album and space themed and things like that. Kubrick, all those like influences that were pretty cool. Mentions of Blade Runner. Anytime you mention Blade Runner, you're okay in my book. I love Portishead and Massive Attack. I think that genre is actually really near and dear to my heart. Or like modern, like things like Gorillaz or anything like trip hop ish is pretty cool to me. So yeah, the band going back, like, will anything that they've found from going back and revisiting these recordings inform work on the future releases? It would be interesting to see, because obviously they have this tendency to sit on songs and think about ideas or nuggets and bring them into different formats or lights later. So I'd be curious. As we know, there's like only a few. Well, I mean, there's probably still more than a couple of the unreleased white whales of songs that people are hoping will come out. Cut a hole, open the floodgates, things like that. So let's see what happens, right? What they decide to do. I'm excited. Watch the Sound with Mark Ronson episode on Reverb. No, I think Mark Ronson's a really smart guy, and I've heard him talk about his approach to production, and he's a kind of a musical savant and great producer. I will definitely check that out because I love watching things like that. Discovered Churches because of Death Stranding, maybe. Yeah, I think they did a song for that, right? Worrywart is like my personal it's like it's like prescription relaxation. You listen to Worrywart and you're just like, everything's gonna be okay. I mean, the whole purpose of that song is like, don't worry. Idols out. Graham Coxon, yeah, deep dive into his pedals and style. Yeah, he's really cool too. He's got that, with Johnny Greenwood and those '90s players that took a different approach and had a really unique sound and style. I'd love to dig a little bit more into him. His rig is pretty simple, and I'm gonna probably get flamed for saying this, but I think he's mostly like Marshall, Plexi, Rat pedal, and maybe he does some delay stuff. The later stuff he does more stuff with weird digital delays and glitches and stuff, but he's got a pretty straightforward tone, at least in the earlier Blur stuff. He was really just kind of more focused on riff ingenuity, kind of like a Johnny Marr, and less about the effects. Yeah, spoken word. Okay, cool. So I got dry cleaning right. They're too cool for school. The YS is practically identical to the Might I. Piano wise, yeah. There's a little bit actually. I don't know if you guys noticed. There's a little bit differently how he plays those arpeggios. A couple of the turnarounds, he does the notes a little differently than when he did it live, but otherwise very similar. Control Top. Okay, I'll have to check those out, Jim. Any Japanese bands you like? I am woefully ignorant on a lot, on what's like new. I think I've come across a few artists I've like checked with Taka, and he's like, oh yeah, they're great, they've been around for forever, and I was like, oh well, then I had no idea. But I definitely would welcome some recommendations there. Um, Everybody's asking about music, but nobody's asking you. How are you today, Joe? I am great, Wiki. Thank you for asking. Even better now to be talking with all you guys. It's a post Radiohead release period, so I'm in that kind of zone, which is great. So yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Low Roar was also in Death Stranding. Somebody mentioned Low Roar. I got to check that out. Okay, so somebody asked, when will you make some original songs? Thank you. I have, in several contexts. So, importantly, obviously, you guys know I'm part of a band called Burn Holiday with my buddies from college. We have, albums and things out that are on Spotify and our YouTube channel, so you should check out Burn Holiday for sure. That's more, we do a lot of 90s rock influenced stuff and beyond, and we're big Radiohead nuts, and we've covered Radiohead stuff. Then I've done a few things on my own, more kind of electronic pieces and things I've been messing around with over the past couple years. There's 4 or 5 songs out on my channel. I know they're not the first thing you probably see because my Radiohead videos and my tutorials get a little bit more pull, but I would really love if you guys would, check them out, check out the videos, and the songs are on Spotify too. It's really fun to make those songs, and I try to apply the things I'm hearing and learning, like electronic sounds and drum beat ideas and things from what I learned taking apart Tom York and Radiohead and trip hop and things like that, and what I'm listening to. So I have a new one that is thank you Pterodex. Yeah, Lax is actually the favorite probably of the songs I've released so far. I'm working on another one. I've been saying this for forever, and I've been really behind and procrastinating, but I'm literally mixing one right now. So in the next, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks, hopefully, I should have another one out to you guys. So you guys hopefully will see that, and hope you like it. It's electronic-y. There are some guitars in there. Unlike Lax, there are a couple guitars in there. Portishead never dropping LP4. I'd love to hear them do some more stuff. I know it's been the long waiting game. Like, have they beaten Tool in terms of the amount of time between like when they said maybe an album was coming? Like, is it like 13 years or is it, how long has it been? Because when did Third come out? I forget. It's a while ago now, but yeah, I would love to hear some more Portishead. Bjork, yes, Bjork is the Icelandic Radiohead. I heard that forever. Everybody on Reddit threads is like, Bjork is great. Tom York talks about Bjork. Their names sound similar. There were so many reasons for me to listen to Bjork up until now, and I hadn't. I just kind of identified her as that, the crazy out there, like, singer from Iceland that, she's been around, she's been in popular culture for forever, but, what was her music really like? And I'm happy to say, like, Homogenic, that album is, I mean, I know I'm late to the party, and I'm not saying anything groundbreaking, but it's a beautiful album. It's really cool. And because I didn't realize how much of her early stuff was so trip hop inspired, like it's still experimental and it's vocal driven. It's really built around her vocals. She's a hell of a voice. But it's, I think she worked with a producer who unfortunately passed away. I think his name was Mark Bell. And I'm learning about him and his influence on that album, him working on that album and her stuff from that time. Those sounds are incredible. The weird, processed industrial drums and the strings and everything about that album. So I think Yoga or Joga, I'm not pronouncing it right, it's probably Yoga, is my favorite from that album. Unravel is on that album, obviously, and that's one of Tom's favorite. And they've collaborated, yes, and I haven't heard their collaboration, and I will probably go listen to it shortly after this. What will I think Tame Impala's next album will sound like despite their last album coming out recently? I don't know. Yeah, Kevin's workflow in terms of, like it took him obviously a while between Currents and this one. How long will he take before the next one, and what will it be? I've loved, his, development and how the sound has evolved, and I really enjoyed the Slow Rush, and So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm still enjoying the slow. I mean, I'm still enjoying listening to the Slow Rush songs. So whenever and where, I know he's a perfectionist and he's a sound sculpt. Like he's gonna do it when he gets it all right, especially the drums, which are the most exciting thing. One of the most exciting things about how he works. So I'm excited to hear what he comes up with next, whenever. Pterodex, Pole, True Love Waits, getting a lot of love. Yeah, I feel like I listened to it, and I wish they included like the third verse, right? Because they cut off the third verse. But it ended too soon. I was into it. I was into that world of the Pole beat with True Love Waits. I do love Slow Dive, and I do listen to Souvlaki almost as religiously as well. I almost picked it up when I was getting this record. I was picking up some other records, but I had too many things in my pile, so I didn't grab it then. But I would definitely love a copy of Souvlaki. Let's see who else. Sigur Rós, yeah. I'm not super familiar. I know of them. I've probably heard some of their stuff, and I know, Jonesy, right, is the singer, and he's got that angelic type voice, and he does the bow thing and everything. But I haven't listened to a lot of it. But I'm into it. I could definitely check it out. Check out more of it. Let's see. Oh, no worries, Radioactive. Thank you for coming at all. It's all good. I'm glad you could be here. And this is just one event, right? We're just hanging out. We're just chatting here. There'll be many more opportunities to chat. Hopefully, I'll see some of you guys. I don't know where you all are. I know you guys are on lots of different parts of like the world as well as this country, but I love to see you guys at a show or something. So let's see. I feel like I'm pretty much caught up, which is incredible. This is great, though. Thank you for keeping all these things coming in. Maybe I should. Okay, so we've talked about this. I mean, we've been talking about this whole time. But let me just see. Is there anything I missed in terms of my impressions? Third disc songs. I feel like I have to look at a track list to know. Let me just pull out the record, and let me look at. All right, so this is disc 3, and let's see what we had. So we talked a lot about. I don't want to touch the surface of the record. That's a no-no. Like Spinning Plates, Why Us? Again, yeah, we talked about that. Untitled V1. All the Untitles I'll just talk about, like, they were all cool. They all, like, they worked really well as transitioners for this, unified album experience. Fog, again, I preferred original Fog, but I thought it was still very nice. If You Say the Word was the first single. I really dug that, and it had the more so than Follow Me Around. It had the Kid A, Amnesiac vibe. It had those toms, the drumming was really cool and thumpy, and the sparkly whammy sounds and the on Martineau, everything about it really came together well. The vocal harmonies, they come out of nowhere for that big chorus, so I really enjoyed If You Say the Word. Follow Me Around, we talked about, like, I'm hearing Nirvana. I don't know why, I know why, but it's really cool. It's got a great melody, and the progression, it's addictive to, like, listen to and play. I've been playing it on acoustic a lot lately and trying to sound out, because he does some cool little things. He moves around, he does, like, the descending riff that repeats to transition, but he also does some little jumps between different notes that are pretty cool. So classic Tom rhythm part. He's always doing something a little busier than what you expect, and it really adds to the song. Oh, sorry. All right, I'm getting distracted. I did watch Dune, and I haven't even read Dune. I knew nothing about the Dune universe other than, like, through popular culture and the original one, like the '80s David Lynch one. I did, and I thought it was really cool. I watched it with a friend, and I liked Villeneuve's aesthetic. I loved the Blade Runner 2049. I loved the visuals. It was just, I just love that kind of moody sci-fi, kind of thing. So I really enjoyed Dune. Sorry. Okay. I promise I'm gonna focus. No. Yeah. Okay. So I'll look back in a second. Yeah. So we talked about, Pole, True Love Waits, maybe my favorite of all these bonus tracks. Untitled V2, Morning Bell, In the Dark. It just kind of sounded like, a little snippet of the one that ended up in Amnesiac. It wasn't too different, didn't do too much for me. Cool to hear those sounds again. Those kind of, I don't know exactly what's making all those sounds. Maybe there's some on Martineau or some, like, creepy organ type thing going on. And the little falsetto vocal as he's, like, kind of riffing the singing over it. It's pretty cool. Pyramid Strings. I love those. What Johnny does live, those little harmonic noises, right? He's like kind of making the different nodes of the harmonic series, right? As it's just like kind of oscillating over that F sharp, which sound really cool. And it's just that those little swells. It works so perfectly with the song. Classic Johnny arrangement right there. Alternative fast track to me was just kind of like instrumental fast track. I mean, I knew fast track. Maybe it was more enjoyable to hear it without the like zoom 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 or whatever the heck Tom is singing or saying in there. I kind of like the instrumental because you could really hear the bass and the groove. And yeah, I like that. Untitled V3 we talked about is like kind of the motion picture soundtracky one with the harps, which was really nice. And then How to Disappear into Strings, which was beautiful. Like that. You really hear, excuse me, you really hear what those strings are doing. Like when you hear them, and then like I listened to it during the. Let me get some water. I listened to it during the live radio show where it was on like WFPK or something. It was like a Louisville radio station the night before, and Chief Demuse was curating and they played How to Disappear Strings, and then they played How to Disappear, and so you can hear. I had always paid attention to the strings, what they were doing during the studio recording because I thought it was really cool. But when you hear them in isolation and then back in context, you can really like they make that whole ending section of the song with like the things kind of spinning around your head in circles type sounds. I thought is awesome. So yeah, but that's the bonus disc. So anyway, I'm looking forward to. I did also order the deluxe vinyl, so like the Scary book. Waiting for that on a shipping container. I guess we'll see that next year at this rate, which is unfortunate, but I'm still excited. So yeah, the art. I'm looking forward to the art and the game, like we talked about, the exhibition game. Like many people have said, even if the bonus disc was scant on new song ideas or different, it's mostly outtakes and interesting things. The theme of this release versus the OK Computer release has really been around the art and the experience, and I love what Stanley does art-wise. If you've read his There Will Be No Quiet book, he talks a lot about really fascinating, like how he gets in sync with them on their creative process during the albums and how it informs what he's doing, and he always comes up with these cool like hooks or ideas of like what he's going to do for each album to inspire the art. So him working with Tom on this, I've watched some of the interviews so far, which have been really interesting, so definitely interested to see and learn more about that. So are the arpeggios and How to Disappear into Strings actually strings? They sound like a synth noise. So it's that part like in the second verse where it's like it does this like quick little like glitchy thing. I originally and for the longest time thought synth, yeah. But you can kind of hear it faintly in the background that there's like a violin doing that. That's sorry for that impersonation, but I'll tell you what, Ben Shin from the New York Radiohead tribute there that I'm playing with, we've been working on How to Disappear completely, and he plays the violin and he plays it well, and he can do that like spot on. He can impersonate that noise. So I'm convinced it's a violin now because he did an amazing job with that. So you should check it out. What am I saying? Does anyone else hear Portishead all around in If You Say the Word? I guess I could hear some Portishead influence. Maybe like the it's got a slinky vibe to the drums, which is kind of trip hop. Yeah, somebody's saying changes in the remaster. I don't think they did a remaster. Yeah, that's what people have been saying, right? Like, does it sound like they actually did? Because, there's mixing and there's mastering, and the album has definitely not been remixed, certainly. And nor was Okay Not Okay. Okay Not Okay was remastered because at the time they had different, mastering techniques. So they used modern mastering techniques to remaster the mixed tapes, the master mix of Okay Not Okay. In this case, they didn't remaster. What they did do is for the vinyl pressing, there's sort of, I guess it's a master in a way, but they do like a half speed pressing, right, or mastering, where they basically cut it into the vinyl while playing it at half speed. So it gives, I believe it allows like more detail in like what the record can etch into those grooves if you cut it that way. So it should sound slightly better, but I don't notice. It's not. Sometimes the remasters, that can be like a curse word in modern times, because artists will take albums from previous decades and they'll remastering, meaning they'll like really brick wall them, like compress them to crap, and they'll sound like loud and unexciting. Um, that's obviously not Radiohead's MO and not what they've done in the past or here. So no, I don't think it's a remaster or a remix. It's really just the albums plus the bonus materials. And again, pressed on the one disc. That's what I really liked. Sorry, just crazy itch. That's what I really liked is I have the original Kid A and Amnesiac vinyls that are the two 10-inch discs, and the problem with that is you have to turn a disc over or change a disc like much more frequently because it's only 3 songs per side. I like that it's so again there's a trade-off in terms of quality if you pack more songs onto a given side of a vinyl, but having them as single albums is cool because then I can just you can really immerse into it more and listen to the album more front to back. Yeah, so yeah, let's see. I forgot what I was saying, but anyway, I'm probably gonna get going in a few minutes. This has been great though, and yeah, there'll be obviously more Kid A or not Kid. Well, there'll be more Amnesiac and Kid Amnesia covers coming, and like I said before, please go check out the ticket links. Go to therethnyc.com for information on how you can get tickets to our shows in New York, Philly, and Boston for January, February next year. Take care, Monkey Rat. Good to talk to you as well. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Yeah, all right. Maybe I will get going then. But yeah, thank you again for watching the premiere this morning, afternoon, like spinning plates, and stay tuned for more stuff coming. And yeah, all right. I'll just say goodbye. Have a good day, everybody. And I'll talk to you all soon. Peace out.